What a wonderful day to be alive and breathing. I hope you feel the same way, and if you don't, read your book. And I'm talking about the book, the Bible. Give you some good insight, especially Proverbs. I read mine every morning. If it's the first day of the month, I read chapter 1. If it's the second day, I read chapter 2 and right through. So if you make a habit of that, I'll tell you what, in a year or so, it changed your life. Incredible, incredible information. It's why I have such a good attitude. I do know the peace that passes all understanding. But today, I'm going to be a little crude because the title of this is Our Food is Screwed. I know that's a little bit rude, baby, and crude, but I'm going to tell you the truth. It is messed up. My goodness. You know, we as Americans, we have access to everything that a human could possibly want, more than any other group of people that's ever lived on earth. And what's sad is over the last 50 years, we've allowed government agencies like the FDA, of course y'all call them the Food and Drug Administration, I call them the False Data Administration, have led us down a road that is disastrous. They'll tell you also a big lie. They'll tell you that people are now living longer than they ever have in history. Just not true. Just absolutely not true. There's at least 5 cultures in the world that lives an average lifespan of 105 years. They don't want you to know about that. And they don't want you to know little idiosyncrasies about that, such as the average cholesterol level in those countries is above 300 all the time. Yet they'll tell you that you need to get your cholesterol down below 120 so you don't have a heart attack. By the way, those 5 cultures have fewer heart attacks than almost any cultures on earth. Those 5 cultures also eat the way I'm about to talk to you about. You know, it's so interesting when you know the truth. Remember, Jesus told us in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 32, you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free if you believe that, and I certainly do. And remember, the opposite, the lies you believe are holding you in bondage. If you believe we've got the best food supply in the world, you're deceived. It's just not true. Now, we got the most food supply in the whole world. As a matter of fact, we feed most of the world, and it is interesting that in every nation on earth, when they change to the standard American diet, they start getting the exact same diseases we do. And they'll tell you we're living longer than any other people on earth ever have. Not true for another reason. Cancer. It's now the highest rates and numbers of people getting cancer and dying from cancer than ever before in the history of the world. Heart disease, they'll tell you that it's all about the fat we eat and the garbage that's in our food, and it's our food that's done it. Not true. I'm just going to fill you in on the gaps today because, believe me when I say it, our food is screwed. And let me tell you something, if you eat it, you probably are too. The odds of you living to your genetic potential if you eat that food and you don't do something to help your body along the way is pretty slim. I don't mean to be negative, it's just a fact. You know, we are what we eat. Can't get around it. You are what you eat. Remember, your body replaces all the soft cells in you that it has every 11 to 12 months. So every 11 to 12 months, you're manufacturing basically a whole new you except for your bones and your teeth, which can take 2 to 3 years. So you are what you eat, because where do those cells come from? They're manufactured from the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamin nutrients, and proteins that we consume. Then the body uses that, and it manufactures cells to replace the ones that are dying, growing old, being damaged, disappearing. They're always making new ones. There are many concerns about our food for a long, long time now, for years and years and years. But let me tell you about some of the lies. One of the lies they told us was, back years ago, they told us that we had to quit eating so much fat, animal fat. Animal fat's the problem. Animal fat's what's clogging up the arteries. Animal fats and eggs, things like eggs are what's raising our cholesterol levels and giving us heart disease. They told us that we need to reduce those things in our diet, and we need to reduce our high protein diets, and we need to go away from that to the foods they wanted us to eat, which, by the way, it was about 40 years ago they told us, hey, the new health food is pasta. Pasta's carbohydrate. You can't live on pasta. Oh, it's good food because it's energy, but it does nothing for the human body. Look at a box of macaroni and cheese and see how many vitamins are in it, how many minerals are in it. There's 1 vitamin, 1 mineral. Vitamin D, and the only minerals in it's a little bit of calcium. And there's not a significant amount of either one of them in there to do you any good whatsoever. The rest of it is chemicals. The cheese that you're eating, it ain't really cheese 100%. It's got a lot of chemicals in it. And what about this? The rest of it's carbohydrate. Did you know if you eat one serving of pasta, it's about the same as 12 teaspoons of sugar? Your body simply converts those carbohydrates into sugar. That's why there's so much diabetes in here. So the lies about fat, number one, is just wrong. Cholesterol, that's a lie. And it's not what you're eating that's caused your cholesterol levels to go up. I've told you before, your liver produces 76% of the cholesterol in your body. They tell you lies about our vitamin content in our food. For instance, the recommended daily allowance, they call it, of vitamins and minerals, they list it, but that was established over 60 years ago whenever our food supply was basically what we grew in our own garden. We tilled our soils, and they did have some actual, high content of some vitamins and minerals in it. Not today. Not today, by the time your food gets to your table, it's been so cooked and so processed and so preserved that there's almost no vitamin value whatsoever. And as far as minerals, well, read Senate Document 264. Go online, just type in Senate Document 264 and read it. They knew since 1931 that our food supply was already 86% depleted of the minerals necessary for good health, because the only place a plant can get minerals is from the soil, and yet our soils have been stripped of all those minerals and shipped overseas to other countries and feeding the whole world, and now they're dying of the same diseases we are. And here's the sad part. Our foods are screwed because the FDA has decided, they've decided to approve all these numerous numbers of chemicals that are not naturally occurring in nature or in our food supply. They've approved them to be put in our food for human consumption. Did you know if you look those chemicals up online, you can find out that most of them are carcinogenic, cancer-causing agents? But now they'll argue with you, and they'll argue with me about it. They'll say, yeah, but those chemicals are in such minuscule amounts, so minute, that they don't hurt you. I was watching a interview on TV one day, and there was a guy complaining to one of the FDA guys that there was arsenic in their water. And the FDA guy replied, says, yeah, but we've had your water tested, and it is below the amounts that is dangerous. And I wanted so much for the guy. He obviously didn't know to do this, but I would have asked the FDA guy, says, yeah, but don't you know arsenic is fat soluble? And so are most of the chemicals that you put in our food supply. Fat soluble. Let me explain why that's important for you to know. If something in your food is fat soluble, that means that it's stored in fat cells. It don't go away. So you may be drinking water or eating food that has something like arsenic in it or any other chemical that's cancer-causing or deadly. And it may not be deadly if that was the only glass you drank or if that was the only food you got that was in there. But when it's fat soluble and you continue to eat it day after day or drink it year after year, it builds up to dangerous levels in your body and causes cancer, heart disease, diabetes, death. It ruins your pancreas so you can't produce insulin anymore and you become type 1 diabetic, which, by the way, was almost unheard of 100 years ago. Today, it's almost epidemic. Type 2 is epidemic. You see, knowing the truth is so important. They add chemicals like aspartame. Aspartame is a flavor enhancer. It's an artificial sweetener, they call it. The FDA fought against it for a while, trying their best to keep from allowing them to put it in there, from approving it, because they already knew that it was toxic, that it had all these side effects, that it caused the human body to want to eat twice as much. But the food industry kept insisting they put it in there, and the makers of aspartame, which by the way is Monsanto, and the chemical companies in the food industry got together and lobbied our legislators until they agreed that they could add aspartame to your food. We're paying a big price for that even today. Preservatives, man, we've got a hamburger and french fries from a famous restaurant, I won't call the name, that we put inside of our display here at the store. It's been there for 3 years. It's never molded. It's never changed colors. As best I can tell, it hasn't gone bad, although I'm smart enough not to eat it. What's my point? When I was a boy growing up and my mother would buy a loaf of bread, you had to eat it in 3 days or it started molding. But now they put so many preservatives in it, which, by the way, are also tied to cancer, that we're eating this stuff on a daily basis. Your children, if you feed them sandwiches, are getting all these preservatives and other chemicals in there, not to mention another chemical called pesticides. You know, they're spraying pesticides on the soils, they're spraying pesticides on our crops, then they're harvesting it, and they tell you, yeah, but the amounts are so minuscule. Again, these things are fat soluble, they're building up and causing brain damage. For all we know, they may be causing ADD, ADHD, autism. Listen, folks, you can't keep putting chemicals in the body that poisons the brain and not expect there to be problems. Aluminum, I could go into that forever. Aluminum. There's aluminum salts. Most of the table salt you use today is aluminum salts. Builds up in the brain. They know it's been tied and linked to Alzheimer's, dementia. You got to think about these things. Fluoride in the water supply. Good grief. You know how they started using fluoride in the water supply was in Germany. It was back when Hitler was decided they were going to send Jews and Christians. Of course, it was 6 million Jews and 5 million Christians. They rarely tell you that they killed that many, slaughtered that many, murdered that many Christians, not just Jews. But how did they get them to walk into those gas chambers without a fight? Well, it was easy. The makers of the chemicals in that day, I won't call their names either, although you ever heard of Bayer aspirin? You need to think this through. Those companies told Hitler, it's real simple, it says we'll just increase the fluoride in their drinking water until they become docile as sheep. And we put fluoride in our drinking water today based on a lie that it'll protect your teeth from decay. That's a stinking lie. Never been proven. Never been proven, folks. So what do? Well, you try to avoid this stuff as much as you can. That's hard in today's society. We're in a hurry. We stop and eat fast food. We do these things to ourselves because we want convenience and we want speed. Slow down. Take time to choose your food carefully. Eat on the perimeters of the grocery store. That's where your fruits and your vegetables and your fresh foods and things are at. Try to get fresh foods. Try to eat living foods. Yeah, if they're alive, they're better. Still going to be impossible because, number one, you still aren't getting all the minerals because it's simply not in there. You're not getting all the vitamins because a lot of them are destroyed by the time you cook them. But you know what you are doing? You're not getting as many toxins when you eat fresh foods. They aren't preserved. So you're avoiding some of the chemicals. That's a start. Try to drink only spring water bottled at the source. That's a huge thing to do. No chlorine added. They basically use ultraviolet rays to kill any bacteria that's in it. That's much better. Make wiser decisions. Don't drink any soft drinks. Sugar, I could go into sugar. They have absolutely sold Americans on the idea that we can consume basically all the sugar we want without any side effects or any dangers. That's a lie. Sugar's the worst thing that can happen to your immune system. I could go on and on, but let's just cut this short. Eat as fresh as you can, drink fresh water as often as you can, and try to make everything you can out of good things that don't have chemicals and stuff like that in it. And to go a step further, take your supplements. There are supplements that will help clean your system out. One of this month's specials, one of the supplements in there is called I3C with DIM. It's indole 3-carbinol with DIM. It acts like scrubbing bubbles. It goes through the body, the bloodstream, the cells, and it cleans up the chemicals and helps remove them from the body, cleans the receptor sites so your hormones perform better. Take your MSM plus C. Why? Because it absolutely detoxes the body at a cellular level. It makes your cells more permeable so fluids, oxygen, hormones, nutrition can get in the cells and toxins can leave. Never before in the history of man has it been more important to be in a constant thinking process of how are you going to keep your internal body, internal organs clean. Take kidney liver cleanse every now and then. Clean your colon at least twice a year with a good colon cleanse. Do these things. You'll feel better. And I can promise you this. You'll decrease the risk of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, and a lot of other disorders. And you'll come a lot nearer living to your genetic potential. I'm here for you. I don't get paid a nickel to do this. I want you to understand something. I love you because God loves us and Jesus loves us. I'm going to tell you the truth, even when it hurts. Until next time.